What is up, y'all? What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? Brent, you on here? Joe, you on here? How's it going? Everybody, we live action. It's Monday. I'm glad my voice is coming back. It was real deep this weekend. It was real gone last week. So I took a little hiatus to kind of rest it up. I was filming hard on the new MCAT course, the new revised, totally transformed, How to Dominate the MCAT Without Expensive Prep course. So that's coming at you guys. Yeah, study to be a surgeon. All right, all right, all right. So here we go, guys. There's been a lot of talk about UCLA's new admissions policy change. And a lot of people freaking out, and they're all over the place. And what does it mean? I'm never getting to medical school. This is so different. This is so radical. This is such a change. What is this world? Oh, this is unfair. And this is ridiculous, right? And to quote Trump, have you heard the expression fake news? Fake news? Well, what you guys are doing right now is falling for fake news. Fake news is what you're falling for. There are subtle changes to UCLA's admissions process, but overall, what you are seeing is propaganda. And we're going to bring this together for you. And the first thing I want to say is anyone who's out here telling you that the admissions process has been drastically changed at UCLA doesn't know what they're talking about. Anyone who's trying to scare you about that policy doesn't know what they're talking about. And the biggest one I've seen is Me Mentor. You guys probably know the organization. I love what they do. I'm a big fan of Me Mentor. But it's just further evidence that sometimes a lot of people try to do good things, but they don't know what they're talking about. And Me Mentor is making a big stink about and a campaign to push for change. And it's ridiculous. And so I want to start off by saying, everyone wake up and realize what's happening. If you're ready to be awake, like this video right now, comment right now, and let me know you're ready to hear some truth and some honesty today. You came here to get this good message today and to get some truth and some perspective on what's really taking place and what's really going to affect your life. Let me know right now. Like this video, comment on this video right now. Otherwise, I'm hanging up. I will turn the video off right now. Natalia, what up? People think I'm playing. There are 70 of you guys on here right now. I better have 70 likes. If I don't have 70 likes, we're stopping the video. That means you guys don't want the truth, right? Alex, what up? Yeah, I'm gonna start making you guys essentially pay a price to get this information. No more passivity. I hate passive people, so I'm gonna punish you guys for being passive. I want active engagement. If I'm here, you be here, right? I could be having fun time right now with my kids. I'm here with you guys. So let's go. Engage. You ready? We're halfway there. Keep liking the video. Some of you guys who are out here just coasting in the shade, you guys are costing everybody this good information. I shall not proceed until we have more likes. Go. All right, Assad, ready to kill your exams tomorrow. I like it. I like it. Okay, so here we go. UCLA, David Geffen Medical School. It's a great medical school. They recently put out a press release that essentially said, we've radically changed our admissions policy. We have a firm cutoff now, 514, certain GPA cutoff, and our disadvantaged committee will be taken out of the equation. And there's this huge uproar because people immediately assume this is going to be devastating to the diversity of medical schools. Oh my gosh, minorities have no shot now because they're not going to let us in because of skin color. They're not going to consider our skin color, not going to let us in. This is terrible. This is horrendous. This is awful. Oh my gosh, here goes the end of diversity. And what people don't recognize, this is why I get so upset and mad at people and so bothered. People call me, sometimes they say I'm abrasive or belligerent. It's because you guys listen to such nonsense from people who are such nonsense people who don't pay attention to details that it drives me bananas as a person who's detail-oriented and outcome-oriented. What is the name of the committee that they dissolved? And this is very important. And I'm going to say some very borderline things in this video. And if you're easily offended, this might be the time to hang this video up. Because I have to say some things that are raw and real for you guys to come to reality. So what was the name of the committee that they dissolved? It was a subcommittee of the admissions committee. What's the name of that committee? This is very important. I'll wait. This is a very participatory session because I'm giving you guys information right now that's going to illuminate the medical school admissions process for you. What is the name of the subcommittee that the David Geffen Medical School dissolved? Ruben got it right. It's called the Disadvantaged Subcommittee. The Disadvantaged Subcommittee. Is it called the Diversity Subcommittee? Is it called Let's Let Unqualified Blacks In Subcommittee? This is very important. We're going to break this down step by step by step. The very first thing I want to talk about is the subcommittee removal from the admissions process. It's called the Disadvantaged Subcommittee. Okay? People are outraged because they feel like the dissolving of the Disadvantaged Subcommittee will keep minorities out of medical school. The committee is not about minorities. In fact, one of the major issues I raised at Stanford Medical School when I was involved in admissions there was the fact that the Disadvantaged Committee was allowing people to classify as disadvantaged who were not actually disadvantaged. Now, this may be out of bounds and not PC for some people, but I want to be very clear about this. I'm just being objective in what the research shows and what's going on. We have clear studies that show, okay, that there is negative perceptions towards minority candidates as it comes to medical school admissions. And that when medical school admissions committees, by and large, by the data, look at a minority application, they have more negative connotations towards that minority student. And so when diversity coalitions and disadvantaged coalitions came about, they were trying to target people who, listen, they don't have the same opportunities to get into medical school as these other groups. As a fold into that, minorities got picked into that packet because, and this is important, pay very close attention. We often associate minorities with the just giving them slots in the medical school. But what is overlooked every single second, we're going to talk about affirmative action in a very quick second here, Joe, is that by statistics, diversity students, minority students tend to be much more likely to be disadvantaged. This is very important. Minority students tend to be more disadvantaged. Therefore, they are considered disadvantaged and have the opportunity to be evaluated and pulled out of the pile by the disadvantaged subcommittee. So, the disadvantaged subcommittee pulls more minorities out of the pile and says this student is disadvantaged, not because they're black or Hispanic or whatever, but because they are, statistically, looking at their other demographics, disadvantaged in some way. Didn't have the same opportunities as some of the other applicants. This is just basic socioeconomics, community health 101. Okay? Minorities tend to be more disadvantaged in America. Line it up. Now, the second part of that is, okay, what has happened in some private school admissions rooms is the disadvantaged committee started to look at things like race and other factors that made someone a minority. And the problem, and this is the reason that private schools now have gone away from this, not because they thought it was wrong, but because what happened was there was some backlash in some schools because this committee that was looking for diversity, right, were picking groups that were not traditionally minority. Listen to me now. So what was happening was people were being selected based on their country of origin, and or people were being selected based on their sexual orientation. So if you marked homosexual somewhere in your application, that puts you into the disadvantaged diversity class. And the argument against that is just because you have a certain sexual orientation does not mean the admissions committee knows that and does not mean that they're going to discriminate against you. And so there were two alternative things happening all at once, okay? We're going to leave that argument aside, particularly for UCLA, because with UCLA School of Medicine, this is very important. The committee was a subcommittee of the admissions committee. And if you actually read the fine print of what that subcommittee's function is, okay, there are multiple subcommittees to the admissions committee at UCLA. Okay? The disadvantaged committee is one of 3 primary subcommittees. There's the disadvantaged subcommittee, there's the MSTP, right, Medical Scientist Training Program subcommittee, and there's the Prime subcommittee. Now, who's familiar with the Prime program at UCLA? This is very, very important stuff. Who's familiar with the Prime program or familiar with any MSTP program? Because most schools, a lot of schools have MSTP programs. Okay? The Prime program is a program that is designed for students who want to go into primary care. Okay? So students want to go to primary care. This is a primary care tract where you have special training, special opportunities to go into primary care in underserved, disadvantaged areas. Now, the Prime program tends to be, right, and it's the Prime subcommittee, we're going to space this out. Okay, so we talk about the disadvantaged subcommittee tends to pull out minorities at a higher rate. Why? Because minorities tend to be more disadvantaged. Then you have the Prime program, which people incorrectly assume is a minority program. Why? Because most of the people who get into the Prime program at various schools, these primary care programs, tend to be minority. Why? Because the statistics, the data shows, again, this is data, that minorities are much more likely to serve in primary care positions in underserved areas than other ethnicities. So again, Prime program is not selecting minorities, but it just so happens that most of the people who are going to go back and serve primary care in underserved areas happen to be minorities. Why? Because they come from those areas. Why? Because they're disadvantaged in the first place. Okay? The third subcommittee is MSTP, which is for people who are applying to MD, PhD programs. So this subcommittee is formed because they're looking for people who have particularly strong research ties and will be good fits to go into MD, PhD programs. Now, of all these subcommittees, if people are paying attention and understand the rules of how admissions works and how subcommittees and committees work, would tell you and clearly understand that subcommittees have never ever made any admissions decisions. Hear me now. Subcommittees do not make admissions decisions now or never have. So when we talk about dissolving a disadvantaged subcommittee, it does not have a bearing directly on admissions because the final say has always come from the primary admissions committee. The subcommittee was able to make recommendations, and the final admissions committee made the final judgment. And in order for that recommendation to be valid, this is important, the subcommittee has rules, and they're not allowed to recommend students who are not qualified. It's very important, which is why if you read the rules for going to a Prime program or an MST program, you must first be qualified to enter the MD program before you can be considered for these other programs. So it's not like a separate admissions process. It's the same admissions process with an added layer. So it's like having there's a primary, secondary, and a tertiary application, if you will, for these other parts. So if you go to the Prime application, you go to UCLA, oh, you want to do Prime program? Okay, great. A drop-down happens and you get more application, not less. Okay? So these subcommittees made recommendations and the final say was up to the admissions committee and they couldn't recommend candidates who were not qualified. Now, knowing lots of admissions committee people, including people who serve on disadvantaged subcommittees at varying schools, the biggest and number one frustration that they always have is that they have all these great minority candidates who have made tremendous changes and strides and come a long way, but they aren't able to recommend them to the admissions committee or even have a shot of getting them in. Why? Because they aren't qualified primarily. If you are minority, if you are disadvantaged, not minority, if you want to go into primary care, The subcommittee can't put you into the main committee's eyes until you are qualified. This is such an important thing. There have been numerous articles published by whistleblowers who are saying, oh my gosh, admissions is unfair to litigant minorities and da-da-da-da. One particular article that I want to point out to you guys, okay? Excuse me. The professor's name is Tim Groseclose. You can Google it, okay? Tim Groseclose. He was a former admissions committee member at UCLA, and he was outraged because minorities were given preference over non-minority students in admissions, which would violate, now this is important, take a step back, someone said affirmative action, right? So who believes that UCLA uses affirmative action to let students of color into their school? This is important. We're gonna ask the question. If you guys are following what I'm saying right now, like the video. If you're tracking this, like the video. Who thinks affirmative action plays a role in admissions at UCLA? We're not talking anesthesia tonight, Zach, sorry. Who thinks affirmative action plays a role in admissions at UCLA? So skin color plays a role at UCLA. Who thinks that? Okay. Affirmative action plays zero role in admissions at UCLA. And it does not play a role because it is absolutely illegal, because California is one of 8 or 9 states that has outlawed affirmative action for public universities. 1991, I believe, 1992, was when Prop 209, which you can look it up, is the affirmative action ban prop that was passed. Every year after that, there was a huge drop in diversity admissions, in minority admissions. In fact, UCLA at multiple points has been flagged for having extremely low levels of minorities on its campus. And people have been outraged by that. Am I outraged by that? No. I'm not outraged at UCLA for not admitting more minorities. And people who argue that there should be affirmative action and that minorities should be let in if they're unqualified are idiots. And I will say that from the bottom of my heart. If you think because you're an unqualified minority you should be let into school, you're ridiculous. You're ridiculous. If you think, oh yeah, my skin is black, whoo, I should be in there even though I suck. That's absurd. Affirmative action should not occur. And you can go wherever way you want with it, whatever. Affirmative action in school admissions should never occur. In the workplace, that's a different thing. Because in the workplace, there are no objective measures. There are only, right, how you like someone. Oh, I have vibe with them in the interview. I'm gonna hire them. And so in hiring practices and jobs, that's an entirely different argument. We're not gonna have that tonight. But in admissions, there should never be a reason why you get admitted because of the color of your skin. Very important. Now, what that article said and what many other people have said, if you guys pay attention, not the headline, if you pay attention to the details, is that when anyone argues that's actually in the know and has inside information, and they argue that minorities are given favor over non-minority students, what they always say is, it's not the initial evaluation, which is fair. They look at the numbers first. If you don't have the numbers, if you aren't qualified, you can't get past that point. What they always say is once you get past that point, and there's a borderline call, that if you are a minority, you have a much greater chance of jumping from the maybe or the possibly or the we'll see pile to the, oh yeah, qualified pile, to the, oh yeah, we'll take that person pile, that accepted pile. And the reason that happens is not because of skin color. It goes back to what we said in the first part of this video, that minorities, by and large, by statistics, are more likely to be disadvantaged. And so what the admission committee looks like now, right, after you've met the qualifications, they look at your application, they look at it holistically like, holy smokes, this student who was homeless all of undergrad, worked 2 jobs to support themselves, still got through all the extracurriculars, their GPA is not as high as this student's, but look at how high this student's GPA is despite having all these other responsibilities, caring for their grandma, blah, 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 all these other things. That's someone who's worked very hard and has achieved far beyond what they should have achieved. And we like that because we know if we put them in our environment where they have all these opportunities, they're going to be sure to take advantage of all these opportunities and blow the roof off of this place. And so they get the nod. Because if you can get a 4.0 or a 3.8 and you're working 2 jobs, supporting your family, come from 0 to nothing, and you can achieve that, and I'm sorry if this offends other people, that to me is much more impressive than if you're a trust fund kid and you got a 3.8. And there's nothing wrong with being a trust fund kid, but it's just the reality, right? If you run a 4-minute mile in the snow, that's more impressive to me than if you run a 4-minute mile in pristine sunny conditions. And that's the way the admissions committee looks at it. If you're fighting uphill and you still achieve greatness, why wouldn't we give you the nod? Think about that. I'm just telling you guys, right? And it's not skin color, it's disadvantage status. It's distance traveled. So if we look at that part of it, right? So have I beat that to death now, the disadvantage part of it? Do you guys understand the difference? It's not diversity, it's disadvantaged. It just so happens that when you allow people who are disadvantaged, right, once they are qualified, they're qualified, if you give them then at that point the nod over people who are not disadvantaged, you end up having more diversity because traditionally people who are disadvantaged tend to be predominantly diverse candidates. So it's a correlation, it's a confusing of the statistics. Everyone wants to ignore the fact that minorities tend to come from disadvantaged backgrounds. But they only get the nod once they are qualified. So there are no unqualified people in medical school. As much as people want to spin that rhetoric and tell you, oh yeah, there's unqualified people all the time, there are not. And the reason there's not is because medical schools get way more qualified applicants than they need. So why do they take unqualified people just to take them? It makes no sense. Okay? The second part of this is that UCLA raised and made it firm their MCAT and their GPA cutoffs. I've said before on my channel what their cutoffs used to be. And what they used to be doesn't matter, it's irrelevant at this point, but they've raised the bottom line standards for their admissions process. They've always had a cutoff. That cutoff's always been high, it's just higher. Why? Because UCLA is a top medical school. It is one of the most desirable medical schools in the country because of its location, its tradition, its alumni network, its resources. Everything about it is appealing. It was one of the schools I was considering in my top 3. I liked UCLA. The only thing I didn't like about it was so big. I felt like the medical school class was so big, I didn't want to feel that. I wanted a smaller environment where I was one of like 80, which I was at Stanford, compared to UCLA, it's like 1 out of 270. It's a huge class. I wanted to be a smaller number to get more individual attention. But it's a phenomenal program, and most of you guys who are on here would love to go to UCLA Medical School. So understanding that psychology and the number of applicants they get, huge. The number of super qualified, uber great applicants they get, why are you offended that UCLA is saying, we want to raise our standard and let everyone be on alert, be aware, don't waste our time and send us your half-ass, poorly thought out, underdeveloped application because we don't want you. Why is that offensive to people? And the argument that people will make is, well, that's not fair because disadvantaged students, which are in large part diversity students, they start slow. They have low GPAs when they start college, and maybe they figure it out, they get skills together and they bounce back, but they're starting such a low place, they can never get to that high GPA standard. They're poor test takers, so they can never get to that MCAT standard. That's discrimination. That's wrong. When the problem really should be, and the blame really should be, on the high schools and on our education system and on the teachers and on the principals who let these kids go through school unprepared, unqualified, and go into college thinking they're going to do something and be something. People get upset at me because I preach how you should be dominating, how you should be great, how average is losing, and average sucks, and that I am greatness. But the reality is in life, if you aren't great, you're a loser. And I'm just being real with you. So if your parents want to suck up to you and kiss your butt and tell you that you're great because you're getting by, if your school system wants to tell you you're great because you're getting by, I don't blame UCLA for that. They're just telling you, listen, what you guys are giving us out of high school isn't sufficient. So it isn't about lowering standards, it's about raising standards elsewhere to meet that. Which is why I'm always telling you guys, if you don't have study skills, not YouTube study skills, if you don't have real, in-depth, beyond out of this world study skills to crush your classes and to crush test scores, you're not going to get into medical school. You're not going to do it. I'm sorry. I wish I could say it was some other way, but if you come in and you struggle from day one, people are like, oh, well, should I get in your study class now or should I wait? There is no time to waste because medical schools now have so many qualified applicants, they don't need you. They don't want you. They don't care about your uptrend because they got someone who's 4.0 from day one. So why would you not understand that and then raise your standard to meet it? As opposed to belly aching and hoping for a handout and a gimme and the world is not fair. Nobody cares about you. If you're starving, no one's going to toss you some crumbs. I'm sorry. It's the reality. I wish it was the other way. We have free food, you just hand it out to everybody, but it ain't that way. So if you want to be successful, become great. It's a simple equation. Want to get into medical school? Want to get into UCLA in particular? Have a high GPA. Have a high MCAT. If you don't have it, then you need to go to a lower tier school. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is the other part. Everybody's hung on, oh, we'll go to UCLA. If you go to Ben's College of Medicine in Kentucky, something or other, middle of nowhere, who cares? It's in the United States. It's a medical school that's accredited. Go in there, ball out, and get your career on. What are we talking about? You don't have to go to UCLA. But what UCLA is telling you, if you want to come here, we're the best of the best. We're elite. I'm very proud to be a UCLA master's graduate. One of the most competitive master's programs in the country. I got in. I'm very proud to be a UCI alumni. It wasn't as competitive as it is now, but it was still a competitive school. I'm extremely proud to be a Stanford Medical School graduate. Why? Because it's elite. Because they're telling you the standard is so high. And when you get in an environment surrounded, this is why Stanford was so amazing. When you get into an environment surrounded by people who want to excel, it pushes you to excel. And it pushes you to excel. And it pushes you to excel. And everybody's excelling. And the standard gets so high, and people, you can't come down from that. Like, what I preach to you guys is a Stanford mentality. If we're greatness, be great or get up out of here. That's all there is. That's all there is. If you guys don't get it together and recognize that greatness is the only way, I'm sorry to inform you that not only is medical school going to be out of reach for you, but life in general is going to be out of reach for you. You're always going to be struggling, just getting by, paycheck to paycheck, right? How many of you guys, your parents, your friends, you, how many of you guys know people paycheck to paycheck? No savings. They don't get paid this week. They get sick. They're scrapping for dollars to get the rent paid. How many of you guys know people who are balling out like, oh yeah, I'm just, I'm doing my thing, doing my thing, and you know darn well they're maxed out on their credit cards, they're upside down, it's just one catastrophe away from them, they're not able to move money around on credit cards to being upside down. But they're happy about that. That's the average just getting by mindset. And you guys have to break that. And it inflames me when I see people talking all this mess about how UCLA is discriminating and da-da-da. They're not discriminating, guys. They're not. And this is my entire point I've always made with you guys. Being black, being minority, even being disadvantaged is not going to get you into medical school. Nobody cares that during college you were living on the streets. They only care once you have a 3.8 and you were living on the streets. Otherwise, it's a, oh, that's a nice story. We don't want it. We don't care. And I may get a lot of thumbs down in this video. Probably will. But I can't be more clear about this for you guys. It's time out for good enough. It's time out for average. Because medical schools, the world is telling you average isn't good enough. Everyone was upset that in Detroit, a bunch of auto plants closed down. I've been here for 25 years, working front line, and they just cut my job out of nowhere. Oh, and they're outraged. Well, after 25 years, why are you still working frontline assembly at the car factory? Listen to this, right? When they were like, oh, I work the cash register at McDonald's, I should get paid a living wage. It's like, guys, the cash register at McDonald's is a starter job. You should move from that to assistant manager, to manager. You should be elevating yourself in your career. You should be aspiring for more instead of just getting by. And again, this may offend people, but this is a mentality. It's so pervasive in our society. It's why I'm never intimidated to go anywhere, because I know half the room isn't striving for greatness. 3/4 of it isn't striving for greatness. So if I'm striving for greatness, I'm better than you. I'm sorry. Greatness is even on your radar. Right? That's why we have our cult of greatness for our students, because we're trying to change. I'm literally trying to brainwash you guys into understanding that you have greatness within you. You should be bringing that greatness out within you. And if you don't, you're a loser. And I'm allergic to losers who settle and like mediocrity. And if that hurts your delicate, sensitive, average-ass feelings, I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. If you feel like I'm too cocky, I'm too arrogant, that's because I'm succeeding too much and you're failing too much. And you hate the fact that you're a failure. Does that hurt? Does that sting? I hope it does sting for you guys who are losing and failing and being average. Because that sting hopefully will make you move into action to become greater. Become greater, right? Asaka just said, I started as a dishwasher, now I'm a chef at the restaurant. There's nothing wrong with having that starter job. Nothing wrong with starting, at a foundation of, oh, you know what? I don't have great study skills. But if you're not working to get more study skills, it's weak sauce. It's weak sauce. And I can't, like I said, I'm allergic. July just said, I'm allergic to these people. I can't get with it. And my students, I love it because they send me messages all the time about how they're annoyed by this person, annoyed by this person, and da-da. Good, I'm glad. And I love to see that, because now you guys have that mentality where you're allergic to average. You're allergic to uninformed people pretending to be informed. Once you've seen the truth, it's like the Matrix. Once you've been unplugged, you can't go back and like, oh, this steak is delicious. It's done. You can't go back to that life. You know what I mean? And the tragedy of UCLA's admissions policy is not the admissions policy change. It's the fact that you guys are not making changes to step up to that bar. That's the travesty. And the travesty beyond that is it's not even your fault. It's your parents' fault. It's your school's fault. It's everybody in your life who let you settle for less than what you could have been. It's everybody in your life who allowed you and kissed your ass and allowed you to skate by. Oh, that participation trophy means you're amazing. Participation. Oh yeah, great, fantastic. You graduated high school, amazing. Oh, I can't believe it, you're incredible, you're incredible. You know, I'm so proud of you for working so hard in high school. My little Jimmy here, he studied every single night, all night long, stayed up super late. He put in all these hours to get his A's in high school. I'm so proud of him. That's your parents setting you up for failure. They should have been like, wait, Jimmy, why are you studying all night? Something's wrong there. You should be studying fewer hours. Let's try to work on your study skills. Yeah. Let's put you with someone who knows how to study. Yeah. Right? Please understand this, guys. And I meant this to be a 10-minute video, but again, I can't keep it short because I have to pound this into your guys' head. And again, it's super abrasive. Oh, that guy, he's a mean jerk. Good. Good. Because my dad was mean to me on the regular, and it made me the man I am today. And so I'm trying to be this mean figure because everyone else wants to be nice to you and tell you it's okay. Oh, it's okay. Oh, yeah. We all can't be successful. You know, you're just not meant to be great. Oh, chuckles the clown. I'm not with it. I believe in your greatness, but you got to step up to it. And it's sad that I have to be the voice of reason, and because of that, I have to get flack, but I can't. It's not acceptable to me to sit here and be like everybody else, like, oh, guys, there's always hope, you know, study for the MCAT for one day and get your great score. Oh, you know what, guys? Ignore those admissions requirements. You can get in with your 2.9 GPA. Just apply. You never know what happens. Roll the dice. I have a friend of a friend of a friend who got in 2.9 GPA, no problems. UCLA, 100%. Right? And I'll make this one last point, then I'm going to get out of here. I was at a conference at UCLA School of Medicine a month ago. And Brent was there, so Brent can comment. And Leslie was there. I don't know if Leslie's on here right now. I said that who you know and knowing people is not going to get you into medical school. I said you got to have the numbers. And there was one girl in particular, but a good portion of the room were trying to push back on that. And they're saying, oh, well, if you know people, they can get you in, they can get you in. You know people, they can get you in. And this is the lie that you guys get told. Oh, yeah, if I know somebody, they're going to get me in. If I da-da-da-da, you have to be qualified. There are no exceptions. If you were the son of the dean, can't get you in unless you're qualified. And I know situations like this where I know deans whose kids want to go to medical school and they didn't go to, wait, why would you go to the medical school? Your dad's a dean there. Oh, well, you know, I don't want to be in my place where my dad was. No, real story is you weren't qualified. Daddy couldn't get you in. And I know deans like that. The actual dean of the medical school can't get you in. That's crazy. You've got to be qualified. You've got to be qualified. And if you've started slow, so I know some of my people on here, and this is why, you know, it always cracks me. People ask me about my student success. And I tell people my students are hugely successful and they maximize their potential and they go great places. I don't cherry pick students. I pick people who have super low GPAs, who can't even read, like super low struggles. Whatever your issue is, I'm going to make you your best. That's my guarantee. Some of you guys out there who are listening who have super low GPAs, who have MCAT scores that are sub 500. I know it feels demoralizing right now, but there's two things. One, improve yourself and get there. The second thing is, it's going to take you longer than other people. There's nothing wrong with that if you put that work in. You'll have to get very creative. You'll have to use up a lot of resources, financially, energy, all these things to get where you want to go, but you can get there. But it's going to take extra work and extra time and extra resources, extra money, all these kind of things. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? To make sure that I'm communicating effectively, I want everyone, type in a one-sentence summary of what I've just said in this video. I gotta confirm understanding. Exactly, Rajiv, exactly. Be great. Stop being average. Yeah, Mohammed's trolling right now. You are entitled to nothing. Exactly. That is Brent. I'm gonna put that on my wall. Don't be Kwame Brown. Oh, I'm drafted by the Lakers. I'm amazing. I'm gonna be so great. I'm Andrew Bynum. I'm gonna be here forever. I'm gonna buy a house next to Jerry Buss. Come on. Be great. Be great because you have to be great to be qualified to get in. And if you aren't great and you aren't qualified, it's your fault. And it's your parents' fault. And it's your early education teacher's fault. It's not the medical school who said we have high standards. I was just literally today, it was so funny, I was already planning on talking about this topic. And then today I had a meeting with my advisor at UCSD. You can look him up. He's Dr. Patel of the UCSD anesthesia department. You can look it up. And he's a very big time, famous neuroanesthesia guy. Big time. He does all this research, NIH grants. He's incredibly smart and intelligent. And the reason I picked him to be my mentor is because not everyone, most people who come in contact with him think he's a hard ass and would hate working with him. Like, oh, he's always, being critical and da-da-da-da and all these kind of things. And the very first day we met, he let me mess up horribly. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then he hammered me for a good 10 minutes. And then I said, hey, will you be my mentor? Why? Because he has high standards. And he was just talking about how someone had emailed him, a medical student who had rotated through the lab, a medical student who rotated the lab and was emailing him to see about getting into our program as a resident. And he was like, no, you don't meet our standards. And the student was upset by that. He's like, oh, well, I worked so hard, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, we have standards here. You must meet the standards. You're entitled to nothing. And so we were having this whole conversation about how people don't understand standards nowadays. And you young bucks, standards. Standards. The same reason why we got so much problem in relationships right now is online dating. Your standards are so low. Looks good in picture. Sold. Got to have more than that. Bring more to the table than looking good in a photoshopped picture. Sorry, a filtered picture. Got to have more than that. Got to have more. Please understand that. Stop perpetuating the lies that being a minority gets you into medical school. Stop perpetuating the lies that you can be unqualified and get into medical school. Stop perpetuating the lies that high standards are discriminatory. They're not. Be better. Be better. That's why I go out to schools. That's why I go out to high schools, even the junior highs, and I talk to students and I try to shake them loose of the garbage they're fed by their parents and their teachers about how, oh, just get through. It's not good enough. It's not good enough, guys. Everyone says, why do you offer courses? I offer courses, guys, because I know this is not enough. You need to be exceptional. So I offer courses to get you from where you are right now to exceptional. PremedProductivity.com, the place for greatness and exceptionalness and all that. Anyway, so check the box below. Lots of free stuff for you guys down there. Free webinars, free ebooks, all that good stuff. But pay attention. Pay attention. Get into our free Cult of Greatness Facebook group. It's a standard thing. It's a standard thing. If you suck, and no one can help you. Be great or be a loser. Those are literally your only two options. Greatness can't be killed, as I keep telling you guys. Greatness rises. Everything else, it's flimsy, it's questionable. I like that. Whoever said that, Ultra, said, I promise that from this day on, I refuse to be average. This winter break gonna get me right. Exactly, guys. It's almost winter break. Get your stuff in place. Start getting better. Get into a course and hammer it and get freaking better. Stop it. All right, now I'm gonna leave, but I want everyone to have this message up in them. And I'll see my interview people on Wednesday for our interview boot camp. We're gonna do mock interviews. I think Priya emailed me and wants to do group interview mock. So we're gonna do a group interview format mock on Wednesday. So that's for you guys. Our study boot camp will be back on this Sunday. I apologize. Like I said, my voice was gone, so I couldn't sit there with you guys for 3 or 4 hours and talk studying. But this Sunday, we'll be back at it. I'm going to be going through your guys' notes, and we're going to be refining those notes and getting those in a place to get you guys successful. So everyone have a good, great, solid evening. And take a second and stop. I know you guys want to share the cute cat videos, but literally take a second and share this link to your Facebook page, to wherever, and let people know so they can get some truth in their lives. This is very real, and it like irks me. Please propagate truth and real news and not false news. Thank you, Meryl. I am feeling better. I appreciate it. I'm still a little deep in the throat, but I feel better. So got a voice at least, so I can speak to you guys. We'll be back at it. Med School Motivation Mornings tomorrow at 6 a.m. right here. So make sure if you're new to this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And we'll do Med School Motivation Mornings tomorrow. I'll see what I dream about tonight to bring you guys tomorrow to get you guys inspired, fired up for the day. Exactly. Bryce, the people who will want to listen will be great. And it's up to you. You know it, Brent. Big baller brand. BBB. All right, y'all.